everyone. I'm so excited to bring to you a special edition of Intentional Success Women Building Wealth Globally. This is a unique opportunity for us to expand our leadership capacity. And I have a special guest who's going to be speaking on authentic leadership. I'm so excited to introduce to you Tammy Cho. Tammy is a chief energy officer, also a body analyst expert, and of course, an international best-selling author. Now, Tammy empowers corporate leaders and established entrepreneurs to remove invisible blocks to embrace their authentic, energetic leadership power. I love this about Tammy. Over 20 years, she has been in the psychospiritual industry. Tammy merges methodologies like proven body analysis system, NLP, human design, and metaphysical laws to serve her clients. She's been featured on many impactful television shows like Positive Impact TV, Brains Magazine, and she's been on major channels like Fox, CBS, NBC, and App News. And what I can tell you that I love about her is that she actually can help you shift from survival mode to becoming a confident and thriving CEO of your own business and life. I am so excited to introduce to you Tammy Cho. Tammy, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thank you, Lynn, for having me here. I'm so excited to see what our conversation unfolds.
Absolutely. You know, as a chief energy expert, this means that you have some insight that I'm inviting you to share with all of us that I'm curious about. And I know that you will be offering something very special to our audience, and you'll have to wait and hear about how to lead with authenticity, a program that you have actually designed that helps people lead with authenticity. It's absolutely fascinating. I can't wait to hear more about it. But first, would you mind telling us about your story and what brought you to this journey of being an energy specialist and also a body analyst specialist?
Yes, thank you. I'll start off with just the how this all came to be for me. Like I was once a registered nurse, and I worked at the bedside and moved up to being the supervisor of the biggest hospital here in Vancouver. And, one day, as I was working, I ended up having a panic attack, Lynn, and I ended up having chest palpitations, and I had a hard time. I just struggled to take that breath in, and I ended up being wheeled off to emergency in front of everyone at work.
My
And
goodness.
leading up to that point, Lynn, I knew I wasn't really doing well. I knew I was losing my concentration and focus and all these things. And how many times do we know what we need to do, but we don't let ourselves do it? And that's what happened for me there, the burnout I experienced, having that panic attack, burning out, really opened up, you know a space for me to really slow down, because I was such that type A personality, that high achiever, wanting to help people. And yeah, and it slowed me down enough to actually have my first child. And it really wasn't until my baby was 6 months old, lying there on one of those baby Einstein mats, Lynn.
Yes.
And for the first time, she intentionally hit the hanging toys. And honestly, Lynn, if it wasn't for this community nurse that was sitting right next to me in my living room, I wouldn't have known how disconnected I was with my own child, because I couldn't feel anything. I was fixated logically on all these things I had to do for my child. And I really couldn't actually feel my life. And that was playing out in other areas of my life as
Mm,
well. Like I had a certain level of success. Me and my husband became a millionaire when I was in my 30s, and I had the white picket fence, right? And had everything that looked good on the outside. Yet inside, in this event with my daughter really made me realize I wasn't actually letting life in, and I didn't feel fulfilled. I still struggled with anxiety, trying to like, be perfect with things and pleasing people and achieving things and accomplishing things. And it really brought me to a place where I I realized I was recreating the past with my daughter where my mom had left me when I was a baby. And although I wasn't leaving my child, I was emotionally abandoning her. And so this propelled me on my whole journey of really, first of all, trying to master the mind, and became an NLP practitioner back then, even. Um, and we know the answer isn't in the mind. And so my journey continued, and I ventured into energy, and I did a lot of things from Reiki, becoming a shaman, doing bioenergy healing, like variety of different tools, and it helped, to some extent. But Lynn, like when I was honest with myself, when I stopped exchanging those healings that I was doing every week, like 2 to 3 exchanges a week, I still felt all the feelings underneath, the disconnection, the numbness, the anxiety. And so I kept on going because I really value truth and freedom within myself. And I
No,
started going to,
let me pause right there. I love it that you
sure.
said that you really value truth and freedom within yourself. And I know that my audience is just tracking with you right now because so many of us have had the same kind of experiences, some trauma,
Mhm.
emotional trauma that may be unconscious, correct? That absolutely has a hook back cause somewhere, but there's something in the body that is aligned and connected. And it sounds to me as if that's what was happening to you. Panic attack you mentioned, as well as just not being able to feel your body, and knowing that there had to have been something that was brewing here, of all of the signs, and not able to connect with your beautiful newborn.
Yeah.
So, but this body mind connection that you began to really explore and work with people on, where did that lead you next?
This is exactly it. As I went right into exploring the whole emotional and spiritual side of things,
Mm.
and I came across something called psychosomatic therapy, which is essentially the study of the body, mind, heart, soul together. And so on my journey, Lynn, as I was trying to figure out the mind and then the energy and then the emotional, the spiritual, I realized with psychosomatic therapy, which is the study of all these pieces as it's expressed through our facial features in our body. That's when the whole picture came together for me, Lynn.
Mm.
And it really showed me how I was going about accomplishing all these things. My body was yearning for this love and intention, but yet another part of my body showed me how I was pushing it away. And
Now
this is
that's like a
exactly,
split. That's like a split, isn't it? A part of us
yeah,
wants something, then another part of us is pushing it away. And let me just say here, one of the reasons I am so fascinated with the work that Tammy Cho is bringing to us today is that she's going to be talking about this a little bit later, about a face analysis, that we actually have two faces that reflect this actual conflict that's going on within us, that part of
mhm.
us that wants to go forward, that part of us that is resisting going forward. And it has to do with face analysis. So just stay tuned, everybody. This is really excellent stuff. So continue.
Yeah, thank you, Lynn, for bringing that in. Because essentially, like in my story, I knew that something was going wrong, and yet, many of us, right, like a lot of the clients I work with, Lynn, like they have a certain level of success, yet um, on the outside, and yet there's a
Right.
part their body is breaking down,
Hmm.
or they have the level of success, but they feel like, yeah, I could do a little bit more, but really, like I'm not really connecting. I'm not. Something's missing, and it's hard to put a finger on it. And
Yeah, the push energy, right?
yeah, like they're going about it, but they're just there's a part within them that feels like it's I don't feel that passion anymore, and it shows up differently for different people. And this is exactly it when we're not connected to all these different parts of ourselves and we're trying to do things separately, or we're focusing on the mindset or the strategies, but we're not really deeply connecting with ourselves, our bodies, and understanding all these pieces. That's when that separation occurs. and that's what we're actually feeling, and that manifests into maybe mixed results in our business, or a block in our business where we feel like, oh, I've been trying this thing, I've been doing all these things, it's still not working.
You're right.
Or
It,
it's
it,
like,
it does, it creates blocks in our business. I mean, you can't really say that you can build wealth easily with those kinds of blockages. And that's what, all of us want of freedom. You mentioned freedom.
yes,
The word freedom, whether it is money freedom, time freedom, um, the kind of freedoms that we we want to have the time to do what it is that we want to do, have live our dreams, create the impact that we want to create, and none of that can flow uh, if you have these conflicts going on, start, stop, push, pull. So how do
yes.
you support women and professionals, executives, CEOs, and all of the high energy people,
Hmm.
leaders who have so much going on and so much to give? How can you support to help that? I know you have an answer.
Yeah, and this is it. It's like sometimes it's about, you know, stepping into a deeper leadership in ourselves. What I like to
Mm.
call authentic energetic leadership, because
Authentic,
often,
energetic leadership. I
yeah,
love that.
authentic energetic leadership. Because often everything about us is energy. Our thoughts are literally electrical impulses in the brain, which is energy. Our body under the microscope is essentially vibrating balls of energy, and our emotions are energy in motion or out of motion. And so, really, to know what's actually happening underneath, it takes that connection, that authentic connection to ourselves. And thank goodness, because not all of us are necessarily looking to be an energy worker person, but it's hard to really talk in high level circles and not hear the word energy.
Right.
It's used in different formats, and the energy was wrong. I don't know, like that is showing up. It's like, I feel like I need to expand this, or there's like different languaging out there that people are speaking to this. And thank God, Lynn, that our own face and body is a direct reflection of our energy alignment within ourselves.
You're right.
And so when you brought up what earlier about this face analysis, I use a face analysis because we look at ourselves every day,
Yeah.
and it's a beautiful way to really see ourselves in a different way. And it's
Mm.
our body essentially highlights all our strengths, our challenges, internal conflicts, subconscious patterns, conditionings, right? It's all actually written on our body, through the lines, through the shape of our eyes or eyebrows, like how we choose to wear our hair, and how we walk and hold our body position, but also internally when there's things that go wrong, in sense of maybe body symptoms or chronic conditions. It's like when we are not living authentically our own truth, our own purpose and mission, our calling, this is when the alignment starts to skew. And all,
Are you saying that, let's say, when someone is in conflict and has that division, that it's evident in one's face? Two parts of the face can be uh, re, reflecting
different. Yes,
that.
very different. And I have a picture to show everyone, but it's essentially the left.
I think that would be
Yeah,
helpful right now.
sure. Yeah, let me do that. Because I speak about this often, but I know a picture speaks 1,000 words.
Yes.
And so let me
I'm
share.
fascinated. This is
Yeah.
so fascinating, everyone. Look
And
at this.
so this,
Before, you have a before burnout. And now, is that on the top row?
yes, the top row is essentially a picture of me, before, or even, basically during my burnout, essentially. And afterwards, the three pictures underneath. And just to orientate everyone, the middle picture is the picture I've taken straight on, like the original picture, like we would take.
Hmm.
And the two left sides, on the left side, are essentially two left sides of your face mirrored together. And then same thing on the right side is two
Oh,
right sides of the face mirrored
mirrored
together.
together. I see.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so it's a picture of just one side, but then you
You
duplicate it
flip
so
it
that,
the other way. Yes.
oh,
And so this helps us see the left side, which represents our inner world. It's our private world, our emotional, our yin, the face that we don't necessarily always want to show people. but it's a part of us. And the right side is very much that public face. It's what we show the world. It's the analytical, go do things, yang energy, as someone might like to call it. And this in itself, you can see that, first of all, when we take these pictures, we're invited to have even lighting shining on it. You can
Sure.
see the difference with just the skin color.
You look
Um,
different, completely different. If you were a fully left face, fully person, full left face person versus a full right face person, you would be looking completely different than what we are normally. And the one in the middle is the combination of left and right, correct? Is how you actually look to, in reality to other people when they see you. They see both the
yes.
left and the right. But what a differentiation here.
Yes, and it's the left side. You can see, for example, let's just take my eyes. You know, the top left photo. You can see that my eyes are quite a bit smaller, and our eyes actually represent our heart, our soul.
Hmm.
And there was a place where often if we have smaller eyes, it shows one sensitivity, how we may not want to necessarily show too much of our heart because of that sensitivity, or it could be of past instances, big T, small t, various reasons. But there's a need to cover the heart. And you can see on the outside, my top right photo, my eyes were a little bit bigger, but they're still quite small. And so after doing this, like energetic, leading myself, dressing my emotional empowerment, fluency in myself, you can see that the eyes are entirely opened up at the bottom,
Yes.
and in the inner and outer world, and still it was bigger still on the right side, right? I was able to give more to other people, and on the inside I was, still in my process, right? But there's parts within ourselves that we look like completely different people when we do this. And yes, like our mind will come in and say, oh, this is like a split of my one part of my face. Does it really represent me? And the accuracy of what I'm able to pull out of someone's face according to what we see is just really astounding. It speaks to, our past imprints, what we're showing up as good at, what we're good at but we're holding back.
Hmm.
um, there's parts of our face where this is where our gifts lie, and yet if we see that the skin in that area is maybe more breakouts, or there's more patterning or moles or blacks, brown coloration,
Right.
it speaks to these places where we have held back a part of ourselves, covering up our gifts. It speaks a lot about like even having the size of our lips and about how much we're actually able to express. And sometimes because I'm actually measuring these things, Lynn, we
Yes.
actually see, is it the left side of the left side lip is different from the right side lip. And this highlights all these pieces within ourselves where we're actually not speaking up for ourselves. Like we may be doing it in one way, but not the other.
You're saying
And
you're saying that it may reflect some subconscious blocks, or something that is not in alignment. But it's so fascinating that it reflects on the face. There's so much study done on palms, right? The palms of our hands and so forth.
mhm.
But the face really is the reflection of the light of our soul. Am I right?
Yeah, it's
And
a reflection. Yeah.
is it
So go
true
ahead.
that once you help people go through a process, right?
Yes.
That I'm sure that the facial features probably relax and become more of a conduit for the light. Am I right?
Well, what happens is that it's a self-recognition process, because sometimes we are
Hmm.
hiding from ourselves. Sometimes we may be aware of these things, but we didn't make it important because we didn't realize how much it was showing up or affecting ourselves really, and
Right.
the degree it's affecting ourselves, and the difference between your inner and outer world shows if you're actually leading with your authenticity. Like, are you, first of all, do you know this part of yourself?
Yes.
Are you connected to your own inner needs and wants and desires, not just at the mind level, which is what the outer world often we do. We like, oh, I should be doing this. Yeah, I need to create more income, so I'm going to do this. But oftentimes it's at the expense of ourselves. And so the whole purpose of stepping into your authentic, energetic leadership is that when we see these disconnects in our body, on our face, it's showing us where the energy may not be aligned within ourselves. And so, really, just by allowing ourselves to be more of who we are, to accept ourselves in this way, to deepen that self love and worthiness that I can show up fully as who I am and to lead from this place, that energy, I've seen it again and again in my clients, how it shifts all areas of their life. It's not just we, focus on business or we focus on relationships, if or weight loss. Like a lot of times it's like it's not what they come to see me for. But when we release these inner demons, these deeper parts that we're may not be aware of, but it's affecting us, yeah, physically, but also long term. When we ignore ourselves long enough, it manifests into
Boy,
conditions and problems and things like this. So
so let's come back to your story then, that that you found yourself almost catatonic. It sounds to me like that, where your body was not working. It wasn't feeling your impulses from you, maybe not even your feelings. Um, were you able to do some of these on yourself? Is that how you discovered how to uh, create a, actually a service now that you're doing for and with others?
yeah, essentially,
You
I
healed
this
yourself. It was almost like self-healing, it sounds to me.
it is, and this is the leadership part, right? It's
Mhm.
like we spend so much time thinking about leading outside of ourselves, when in reality it really comes from leading ourselves and stepping to a deeper leadership. And what I
Mm,
believe, Lynn, is that moving forward, it's not about knowing more information and spreading ourselves far and wide and with all these different things. It's actually coming back into alignment and going deeper within ourselves, because it deepens the quality of our energy alignment, which is filtered out in everything we do, because that's how energy works. It doesn't choose this and choose this part of our life. It actually affects all parts of our being.
that's
And
fascinating.
yeah,
How does this play out with the people that you've worked with? Some, you mentioned that you work with clients. What kind of pain do they come to you with, and how have you been able to, see some of that pain go away? And what is it like to see the before and after? Like, you've given us a before and after of your face, but um, let's put the picture away now and see
sure.
to what. How do you actually, give us a little sense of what it's like working with you. Can you do that?
Yes, for sure. And so the first step I often do is the face analysis, just because it really lays the cards out on the table, so to
I
speak.
see. That's like your entry point.
Yeah, yeah, and I do that as a separate, exploration with working together. But it's also the first step in a longer container, whether that's in a group or working one to one. And it's through that process. Oftentimes, I'm actually energetically dropping someone into their body and into their heart. Because if I just told you what this means and what that means, it becomes a more logical thing. And this is why I don't like to do necessarily readings per se. I like to do the analysis, which I hold space to actually help someone come back home to their body.
Mm,
Because the reason why a lot of the people come from to me with pain is because they're living in their heads and not in their body, and they're not necessarily feeling as much as they realize. It's not that you need to be totally disconnected, but this is why, when you are moving through life and you're feeling unfulfilled and you're feeling like a bit miserable, you built this big business and you kind of want to tear all down, it's not suiting you, because there's a part of you that never really hasn't listened to yourself to that degree. Sometimes someone comes to me, they struggle to just create more space. Like, I feel like it's a never ending show. It's like I realize I'm having problems creating space for myself. And sometimes people come because they know like something's wrong with my body. I feel like it's out of alignment. So it's interesting that people come to me in really different ways. Um, However, when I often start with the face analysis, and I do the body analysis throughout our time together, and it at snippets of time where I help someone see what it means to self recognize, because the body's actually listening and can start to change as we're actually speaking to the body. I also walk someone through inner journeys to really connect to body sensations, what's actually happening in a physical level if there's a chronic condition that's playing out.
Yeah.
I had a client recently in one session. She, didn't come thinking, she wasn't connecting it, right? But she came struggling with this emptiness. She's got all her ducks in a row, yet something feels off, right? And so this is where um, we realized when we went into her body to discover that she was actually keeping herself away from her power,
Wow.
and her tummy essentially deflated after, because she was like having this bloating that she actually was living with, but she got so used to it that she didn't realize. And
She
these are
thought
all
that was
these,
her natural state.
yeah, very much like when we get into a hustle culture of burnout and we get used to it.
Get used to it. Yeah.
Yeah,
That we kind of, I have a question for you. What do
sure.
you think about, we are in a mental health crisis. Um,
Yes.
and it's been bandied about quite a bit. And I was just wondering your take on that. Do you believe that a lot of the, being in your head and thinking about, thinking through problems and trying to figure things out and really navigating through a complex world is is maybe part of the problem? And as what I'm hearing you say is that if we have the ability and maybe some help along the way, mentorship with you, to move from this mental, always being in the mental part, down to the heart, as you mentioned, and then the recognition of a body feeling the connection. I was swimming earlier today and I was just noticing how water feels. When you really think about how water feels between your fingers and between your toes, and just allowing water to wash over oneself, those kind of sensations are really not you're not able to enjoy or even be conscious or aware of them if you're always in your mind and trying to solve problems or something while you're swimming. Does that make sense? What do you
Yes.
have to say about that? The moving out of the maybe helping people who feel like they have mental problems, and it may just be that they're not centered or grounded, as you mentioned, or
Yeah.
aligned, as you've also mentioned.
Yeah, and this is exactly it. If we are in our bodies and connected and feeling all these sensations and even deeper sensations in the body on a regular basis, we would not be burned out because we would be listening to our needs. We'll be making decisions like putting our own self love and worthiness um, at the highest level.
Mm,
Because from this place, a lot of the problems, the imposter syndrome, not fully
yes.
allowing ourselves to be ourselves. All these things based on I'm not good enough, all comes down to this sense of worthiness. And on my
Well
journey
said.
of,
Well said. I couldn't agree more. Absolutely.
yeah, right. And this is exactly it, the inner and outer world. Like we're not letting ourselves be ourselves. And so really authentic energetic leadership is actually the antidote, I believe, for what's happening out there. The burnout, I call it burnout revolution, is kind of what's coming to my mind.
Yeah.
And it's like, what if we lived life in that respect, especially as entrepreneurs and leaders of our own life, where we have control over our schedule versus telling ourselves that we don't? And it's not only like choosing a different schedule, it plays out in hiring team many ways where there's a certain level of control of being vulnerable and letting yourself receive. And it's all parallels in many ways when we look at it, because when we actually receive ourselves, we're letting ourselves receive more life.
Mm.
And
Whew.
when we're authentically allowing ourselves to be ourselves, it actually creates the energy alignment where you can move from hustle to flow, where things are flowing towards you with more ease. And this is a common result my clients get, is that they feel wow, like this is abundance because they're actually feeling emotional abundance. It's not like
Oh,
they're
I love that
spending
you
this.
said that because really when things become aligned and you're able to have self-love, as you mentioned, self-leadership, the importance of that is really the cornerstone and the foundation, wouldn't you agree, for then being authentically able to create in this world those things that you want to. And really, there is, I'd like to say, even though we speak about wealth in terms of creating wealth monetarily, but underneath that, you must have the wealth of loving yourself. There is that kind of personal, in depth, let's just call it wealth at this moment. And I love it that you said abundance. Yes, it is abundance, but it to be able to have a wealth of self love and be able to really move out on the strength of that alignment, your clients must just thank you. Your clients must be really feeling like they can transform into being a much more powerful, calm, and confident person. Would you say that's true?
Yes, calm, confident, fulfilled. They feel like they're finally thriving and they have control over their life because and what I will say, Lynn, is that yes, it's about worthiness. And you can spend your whole life loving yourself, but it's so important to step into leadership and your power to take action for your purpose.
Mm.
And it's the combination of love and power, not force but power. And it's once again, it shows up in our body when we're not actually living our purpose. It's we actually walk differently, and this is how I know if someone's on purpose. And that creates misalignment in the body that causes illness and tension in another part of the body over time, creates physical problems. But on a regular basis, it's creating like energy problems, which that's what people experience. There's a disconnection, and because we're not connecting to it, that breaks the flow, right? And so it's like I just really want to paint this message that body, mind, heart, soul connection. We're not meant to treat ourselves separately. We're meant to come back to ourselves, to fully be ourselves, to put our love into the world, in our power, to show up fully. And just by being ourselves, that's when I am in flow in my business. Whenever I'm out of alignment with myself, that's when I know that my business is not flowing. And my clients are seeing this again and again. They're seeing the patterns between honoring and loving and stepping into their power and the flow in their business, their relationships, in their health. How my client recently is just starting to shed weight, energetic weight.
Release like shoot.
Yeah, and and when she started working with me, she said it's not possible to change all these things in my life. I go, but it's one core issue. If
Interesting.
we deal with that, and so yeah, it's like our body is just this blueprint, this map for ourselves, and
Oh,
to really step into our leadership. And it's that, I know we hear about like chief um operating officers and things like this, right? A chief energy officer does that to support the inner systems and operation of our body, mind, heart, soul connection. And that's what I see. That's what I'm doing for people to bring
I
that
love that.
alignment back to self.
So you're really asking people to consider the possibility for them to become their own chief energy officer of their own body, mind, heart, soul. And with your help, they can do that. Now, anyone watching here, I'm just knowing that you are resonating very, very highly with this because who wouldn't want the possibility of knowing ourselves better and being able to have an authentic leadership so that we too can have a happy life and a fulfilled life. So, Tammy, tell us, how can everyone learn more about your program? And could you tell us a little bit about this special offer, which is the like a first step of working with you?
Yeah, I mean, I offer free deep dive discovery calls. If that you're feeling a pull anywhere within yourself and you can't really logically make sense of it, that a lot of people say that. Yeah,
Yes.
or you're just feeling like you're fed up with what you're doing, and you feel like you're looking for this new way, which is what consciousness is leading us to. Yeah, I invite you to have a free connection call, free discovery call, and let's build that bridge and see if this is something that is where you're meant to go and what your heart's actually calling you towards, right? And and in the meanwhile, Lynn, I know I love to offer that Lead Your Authenticity Face Analysis video series to all your audience here, because that's where it starts. It starts with seeing yourself.
So
And
let's talk about that just a little bit more deeply because it's fascinating.
sure,
You're
yeah.
saying that you would be willing to offer everyone an initial, let's call it lead your authenticity face analysis video series. Tell us a little bit about this.
Yes, and so it's a step-by-step series. Essentially, I'm walking you through how to actually create your own face splits, and you just essentially get a picture, and there's a free app you download, so it's nice, easy, and breezy.
Okay.
And so I'm walking you through where your highest gifts of leadership lie on your face, according to your own personal face, like what your capacity is for within that, but how are you expressing? How much are you actually expressing that relative to the other parts of your face? And also your level of self-awareness and clarity, and to really see, oh wow, like how does this look, and to really see yourself in a different light. And the next bit is also to see your inner and outer world. So, and I walk you through a process to really connect to that. And I do invite you, don't skip over that, because a lot of people are rushing through things and they're not going through the process, and the breakthroughs happen in that process. And so it's really a video series to really support you to really uncover subconscious blocks. I've had people experience the class and realize like the place where they were actually not stepping into their leadership to the fullest, and they knew exactly what they needed to do. It's just like a moment of inner clarity, and it's uncovers those blocks, but also empowers you and elevates you into your own authentic leadership. It's a perfect step to start in.
I love it. Well, I know this is going to be very, very popular. So um, here's the website that you can go to. We'll put it on the bottom of our chat here. And I invite you, this is an absolute, I think, very unique way for you to get a visual understanding. Just imagine having an expert like Tammy Cho help you to really look at the different types of face analysis in order as an entry point into what's going on, and so that you can get some chief energy uh, help and also some guidance on how to create authentic transformation within yourself so that you too can build wealth um, authentically globally. Now, I did want to just mention too that Tammy comes from Vancouver, Canada, so it's part of the global aspect here of really acknowledging women, powerful women who are doing powerful things and globally creating amazing impact in the world. So, Tammy, I just want to thank you for being here on on the podcast today. Thank you for sharing your strength, your power, your hope. I know you've been through an amazing ups and downs in your life, and I'm blessing all of that because it has led to right where you are today, a powerful woman with the powerful ability to help others. And I know that those who are taking advantage of your help right now are going to be thanking you in the future. So I hope that lots of people begin. And I'm so thrilled. Thank you so much for being with us today, Tammy. Do you have anything that you would like to say in conclusion?
Yeah, I just want to wrap up. What if we could create the most abundant, flowing life just by loving and being ourselves? Like, how amazing is that? Like, I hope you take me up on this, and I'm just offering love, and I invite you to receive it.
Excellent. It's a beautiful offer, and we shall receive. We're already in receipt. So I encourage everyone to take up this wonderful offer. And thank you again, Tammy Cho, for being with us today. all the best and blessings galore to you and everyone in your family. And thank you so much for being with us today. Until next time on Money Talks for Women, we'll see you soon. Thanks very much.